Okay. Hello, Guy. How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Thank you for coming on the show. Nice
It's
to
my
have you
pleasure. It's an
here.
honor.
I was reading through your bio. This story sounds amazing. And just real quick before we get to your story, I see three books on here. The
hmm
cover that you sent us was for Chrysalis. Is that the
hmm
one that you're promoting at this point?
I have up until now, and will continue to do so. Chrysalis is it's a very unique book, and what it does is it shows people who may have a little bit of a question that that my religion prevents me from being wealthy or making money or whatever. It's much deeper than that, but that is the book that so many people have been interested in. Yes.
Let's go back in time. It seems like you were a financial advisor, fairly successful one.
Right.
And then one day it all came crashing down and you ended up
It
in
sure did.
prison. Just tell us that story. I just want to hear it from you.
Okay, yeah, it is a unique story. I was in the financial field for 34 years. Loved every minute of it. Actually, was great. What had happened is I was a registered investment advisor as well as a stockbroker. I owned my own firm. I had 33 employees. I had four offices nationwide, primarily on the East Coast. We were just in the process of opening up a fifth when the government came into my office and went through my papers, took my files, and I wasn't really sure what was going on. And that's an understatement, by the way. So they spent pretty much the whole day going through my offices, taking computers and documents and so on. And the next day, when my employees came back in, the ones that my main office, by the way, was in Buffalo, New York, and that's where I was the day that the postal inspectors actually were the gentlemen that came in. And the next day, when my employees in Buffalo came in, I said, "Well, we're obviously under investigation." I said, "We're going to be asked questions. Whatever you do, just be honest." I said, "We have nothing to hide." And I didn't know that we didn't have anything to hide until a few weeks later. But what had happened is a couple of my employees, we had, let me back up a bit. We had started a new company because my business as a registered investment advisor was changing. In 2003, it was discovered that there were mutual fund companies that were allowing individuals like me, registered investment advisors, who had billions of dollars as opposed to the millions that I had. They were allowing them, these large mutual fund companies were allowing them to trade after hours. When I moved my clients, and let me explain what I did and probably add a little bit, more explanation to what it was, what my services were. Most stockbrokers charge their clients a commission. What I did is I was charging my clients a fee to deal with me. And what I would do is I would manage their money on an individual day-to-day basis. So what would happen if the markets were strong? I would make sure, or at least try to make sure, that my client's money was invested properly. When the markets were showing weakness, what I would do is transfer that money into a money market account. And there was no fees or transfer cost or anything like that, no commissions to do that. My average trades year by year were anywhere between 70 and maybe 90 times a year. Every time we moved the money, the client got a statement directly from the mutual fund or the variable annuity that they were dealing with. So the client always knew what was going on. And when I charged my clients a fee, it was 2%. And depending on the dollar amount, it went down. For more money, it would decreasing. And I had clients with $2,000, and I had clients with $10 million. So the thing is that when we found out that this malfeasance was going on in 2003, I've kind of seen the handwriting on the wall that, I don't know what's going on here, but there's some big problems. Well, there's a couple over the few years that the industry was changing, regulations were changed, and it no longer permitted me to make these unlimited trades per year. So I started deciding I've got to do something for my clients. I don't know, I can't manage them. I certainly can't charge them a fee. I'm not going to be managing their money the way I once did. Most of the mutual fund companies were giving us 12, maybe 10 times a year to be able to move the money without a fee. But if it was going to cost my clients a fee to move every time, there was no reason to do it because they'd end up losing money. So I started thinking about doing another or starting another company. And I spoke with two investment bankers in Buffalo. What had happened is I had a place up in Maine, and I was walking along the beach this particular day. This was now in 2005. And I knew that the markets were going to take a tumble. I had been in the business many years by that point, and the only thing at that moment that was holding the stock market together was the real estate industry, and that was starting to look shaky. And of course, we know what happened a few years later. So in the meantime, I thought, well, I could just tell everybody, take your money and do whatever you want with it. I could go back to being a regular broker, which I really wasn't too wild about. Then I started thinking as I was walking along the beach that particular day, what about, getting involved in real estate? And I thought about a real estate investment trust. And the more I thought about it, I thought, I looked at a house actually. What had really sparked my interest, I had looked at a house that a few years prior I had considered buying, and that particular place was up for sale again. And as I thought about it, I thought, well, I know they made money, and I'm sure it's more today than it was when I looked at it a few years prior. And I started thinking, well, it's funny because waterfront property always increases in value. And, I kept thinking about this. And the next thing I knew, I started thinking, well, maybe there's a real estate investment trust that I could at least offer to my clients as an alternative. Whether they wanted to do it or not was up to them. So anyway, with that thought in mind, I spoke with these two investment bankers when I came back to Buffalo. Everybody loved the idea about putting together a program like that. So we started exploring it and how to go about doing it and finding out what the rules and regulations were. Well, we were really beginning to move away from the money management, which is what I was doing and where I made my money. And now I'm facing the possibility of having to lay off people. With what I was doing, I only needed myself and a secretary. But, I had brokers that worked for me. I had support staff that were there with me. And quite frankly, I didn't want them to lose their jobs. So anyway, what we did is we took some time as we built this new company. And as we were building the new company, in order not to lay off people, I wanted a way to be able to pay them. So we started raising money for operating expenses for the benefit of this new company coming in, which hadn't been started yet. We were just exploring everything. What had happened is a couple of my brokers had asked, well, can we raise some money for our company as well, for the operating expenses? And I said, yeah, that's fine. I'm going to get into more like the semantics later on, but for right now, so I just can explain this. Unfortunately, what happened as time went on, I found out that some of my brokers, actually 3 of them, had started to mislead and outright lie to clients that were investing money in our company and for operating expenses. Unfortunately, when I discovered that, it was way too late. I ended up getting in trouble. And, of course, when the captain of the ship is responsible, when it's not the sailors that are in problems, it's the captain. And if it would have stayed at that, I certainly would have accepted it. Unfortunately, what happened is the government said that, I was running a Ponzi scheme and that I had instructed my employees to lie and to mislead. Well, came to find out that the 3 employees, that was the story that they got straight. I found out from one of my other brokers that these 3 individuals had been meeting to, kind of get the story straight when they spoke to the government. And they said that I told them to lie, to mislead, which was an outright, it just wasn't right. I never would do that. As a matter of fact, as you probably read, I passed 2 polygraph tests in the meantime to attest that I never certainly did that. But in any event, as I said a minute ago, I was responsible. I was the captain of the ship. And eventually, after fighting with the government and trying to defend myself, I ended up taking a plea deal when I found out what could happen when you go to trial and lose. So I ended up taking a plea deal. When I went to get sentenced, unfortunately, the judge decided to really hammer me, and he threw the key away on me and gave me 13 years. It was traumatic, as you can imagine. It was something that I never, ever in my wildest dreams would have ever thought that I would go to prison. But in a nutshell, that's pretty much what happened. There's a lot more that goes with it, but that's what it was. And I went from having a sterling reputation in my community, and with the business community especially. My clients, I had a very personal relationship with them. my reputation within 8 hours was completely destroyed. And I was doing very, very well. I was very successful. If someone thinks that success is based on money, I was very, very successful.
Okay.
But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, we've only got about 3 minutes at this point. Okay, so 13 years in prison, and then did you write all these books while in prison or after you got out?
Yeah, I wrote 2 of the books in prison. I wrote Chrysalis in prison, and I wrote Unchained and Unbroken in prison as well. I also put together a course for white-collar people that were going into prison. I did that just before I left. I've been out of prison now for 4 years. But then I wrote my other book, Managed Money, when I came home. I actually published that last year.
Was this federal prison?
Federal prison, yes.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I went to federal prison.
So it's not Alcatraz in that.
No, no, it wasn't. It wasn't that difficult. But the thing is that what happens now is because the prisons had become so overcrowded during the 80s and 90s, and so many prisons were built, they weren't even enough to hold all of the inmates that they had coming in. When I was sentenced, there were 213,000 federal inmates. Right now, there's, from what I understand, about 185,000. But what was happening is the government was moving people down from higher security levels. In the federal government, there's the penitentiary, which is the most difficult. Of course, everybody knows about the Supermax, and they're really bad. But the penitentiaries, then the next level down is medium security. The next level below that is what they call a low security, and then the camps. Which I can assure everyone that no longer are they club fed. Many, many years ago when they started, it was for white collar guys that were going to be in for a year or two, and it was much easier. It's not like that any longer. So what happens is, unfortunately, there's too many people that come down from the higher service levels, or security levels, excuse me, that like to prey on, not all of them certainly, but like to prey on some of the weaker links that they find in the camps. And I've seen it all. It's not a place that anybody wants to go.
So what are you doing now?
Right now, I have a few different businesses. I'm a public speaker. I'm a performance coach. So I have clients that come to me, and I'm able to help them, really navigate to get to their goals. I use a lot of the basis from my book, Chrysalis, to help people. What I also do is business consulting. As I like to say to my clients, is that it's easy to start a business. It's not so easy to know what not to do in a business. And, I'm the guy that knows what not to do. So, really my time right now is filled with, with doing that and, really speaking to other groups and so on to help them understand what their goals should be and how to achieve those goals.
Just a couple of seconds left. Do you have a website that you want to give out?
I do. My website is ganewisdom.com. That's GANE wisdom.com. And, I invite them to take a look at it. Well, also what I would say is that, with my Managed Money book, what I did, I had so many people asking me over the years, what's going on with the market? What do you think I should do? And I'm talking about it while I was in prison, as well as when I came back out. And what I decided to do was in 2022, I formed a website that people can go to. That's marketwatch.ganewisdom.com. And what I do is every week I have market updates suggesting where people should put their money, fully explain what's going on with the markets, and very, very easy to understand English. And if there's a change that needs to be made in their portfolio, I do what's called midweek market alerts. So, you can go back. I have an archive that goes back to our first our first newsletter, which was done back in August of 22, and every week since. So it's been one that a lot of people really have found value with. But I really made that or put that together for the folks that have a 401k or a retirement plan and they don't have a broker to work with. It gives them a simple instructions, simple English, what they can do to manage their own money and how they can move the money around and so on. Okay. So it's been very popular.
All right. Well, Guy, we got to wind this down. Thank you so much for coming on. Very interesting story.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
And best of luck with everything you're doing.
Thank you.